Jordana,
Hi.
thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Giselle.
Thank you. I'm actually I feel very grateful that you're here. And we've had conversations where we got very deep. And I think that's how we connected.
Yeah.
And before I introduce your amazing brand, that I really want to talk about how that started and what is it today. I want you to tell us a little bit of your childhood and where were you living? How was just being a kid?
Uh-huh. I was born in the Philippines. Crazy enough, I didn't know that my parents were my parents until I was 4 years old. And I think that at such a young age, not knowing that, meeting them for the first time at 4 years old, being ripped away from, my aunt that raised me was super traumatic for me. And I think from that moment of having such a huge emotional feeling, that's when I started to basically like have a thought, like conscious awareness. I think like at that moment, it was crazy. At 4 years old, I realized I'm like, whoa, I need to raise myself. It was this moment in my life. So at 4, I moved to America, and I have the most amazing parents, mind you. Like, they did what they had to do. My mom is a medical scientist, and she was basically, providing that life for us in America. So that's the reason why I had to go and live with my aunt, and kind of setting up that life in America. And so when I met her, I instantly had a connection with her because she's like my aunt's sister, and so I knew like I was going to be safe, even though I didn't know they were my parents, and my dad, obviously, like, that's my dad. So yeah, like it was a really traumatic experience for me. That 4 years old, that was really traumatic for me. And I think after that is when I started to actually become like more aware of my feelings, because I'll never forget that day.
This episode is brought to you by Allergic, a wellness brand dedicated to empowering women to balance their hormones naturally and reconnect with their bodies. You can learn more at Allergic.com. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you remember, like at 4 years old, like, do you remember the whole thing? Is it like just kind of like flashbacks, or do you remember? Because I asked you because I literally don't remember a lot of like those years. Yeah. Like sometimes I have to look at pictures and be like, oh my God, okay, yeah, my dad is hugging me here. Like I don't recall my dad hugging me or putting me on, on his lap like any kid,
Really?
I don't have those memories, and it's like the weirdest thing. So you remember?
I do. I don't have, like I remember fragments from like maybe 3, like really, it's crazy. Okay. So before I came to America, I'll have like really 2 really big memories. One was me running in the field, because our family we have farms in the Philippines. I was running and I hit my head, and I hit my head on the ground, and I just woke up to everyone from the village looking at me. That was a really big memory for me. Yeah, so that was a really big memory for me. So I think that stayed with me. And then another big memory was that when I met my parents. And another one, actually. I just remembered also. I remember everyone around me knew that, my aunt was my aunt and my uncle were taking care of me. And, I was raised with my cousins. And everyone in the village knew that. And they would always say like, oh, you're adopted. That was another memory. So things like that, But in saying that, I think that when I think about my childhood now and all of those moments in my life, it's really shaped me into this woman that I am now. Like, it's like, all of us have some kind of trauma, right? And whatever fuels us to be the best versions of ourselves is always fueled by some of those fragmented memories. And, when I look back at my life and I'm like thinking about, why am I so, I know that I'm an ambitious person, and I always wanted to wonder why I was. And so it was always like, to try to prove everyone wrong and to prove that I do belong. And, I'm not adopted and all that stuff. And, kids are so silly, so they don't even know what they were saying. But at that time, though, I didn't understand it. But as I grew, I'm just like, okay, I never looked at any of that as as a negative. I always looked at all those moments in my life, now as I got older, as like fuel, all fuel. Because before I was like, when you're a young person and, you're not understanding your feelings, you don't even know how to identify some of your emotions. And that was me growing up. There was like a lot of me not knowing what these feelings meant. However, I knew that in order for me to be successful, I need to always look at I can't look back at that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't let that define me because that's not my story. It's just part of my story that shaped me into the woman I am today. And as I got older, I started to understand that is part of my superpower. In the past, I used to be like, oh my gosh, so ashamed of, my certain things because of that. Like, why did I have to experience that? But then I realized, as we get older, you realize everyone has trauma. You know what I mean? Everyone goes through something. It's everyone's story, which makes life so beautiful. Everything's not cookie cutter. So I just used all of those, memories as fuel, as, not anything to identify who I am, but as just like the reason of, becoming this person, the person that I've always known I was meant to become.
Exactly. So when you got that consciousness of it's not what happened to you, it's not how was your aunt or how's your mom, when you have this consciousness of your journey is your journey and everything has happened exactly how it has to happen to make you the person that you are today, you understand it's just like everything is beautiful, right? Like what would you change of you at this moment,
Yeah, no, I know. And that's like, it's funny how you say that because I think it comes with time and age and experience. Back then, when you were younger too, it's like, you just didn't understand why certain things were happening. You couldn't you couldn't put, again, the word to that emotion. You didn't know. And that's why knowledge is power. I always say that, like, knowledge is power. Once you start on this healing journey and on this path of growth, you begin to uncover, you become, and that's what I've enjoyed this past like decade of my life.
So beautiful said. And, I was telling you that I don't remember a lot of things when I was like 4 years old or 5 years old. And then I see pictures and then I'm like, I have to soften, that my dad or that my mom did whatever they could for me. And again, like it was through my own healing that I had to forgive a lot. And it was more of like understanding that they did what they could with the information they had. The same as us at this moment, we're doing what we can with the information that we have.
Absolutely.
And we all have blind spots, and as we evolve, like we see all the things and all the growth that everybody and ourselves need to do. But I think it's so powerful to just be on this journey because it really never ends.
I know. And, it's really refreshing to meet other women that are also in that same wavelength. Like I always tell you, it's like really refreshing. As you know, I'm new to Miami. And one of my things were when, in this move, my intention was I only want to align myself with people that are in the same value system as me, or I just know that I'm only going to attract people from the same frequency. And it's really refreshing to meet people like you as well that, I feel like conversations are different when you're grounded. When you're grounded and you are also doing the work. I feel like there's no ego, which I appreciate about our relationship because I think that you and I can talk and just be real with each other and just like have this like capacity to just have so much respect for what we've gone through in life and can talk and just uplift each other and empower each other. And to me, I've always loved, like, I think the reason why I even started my company was because I love empowering women. It was always a thing for me. And I know maybe because my mom, like growing up, like, I saw her, she was just so, just such a strong woman. She's a medical scientist. She worked 12-hour days and she loved what she does. Like, I didn't see her much, but I see her more now. But, I just saw this like strong woman and I was like, oh, like, I love that about her. And like, the way she is with her friends, she was always making sure that everyone was good. She was the bridge. She was always like, she came to America, she brought all her friends to America with her and they stayed at our house, and I just saw that growing up. And so I was like, I love that. And so that really shaped me into like why I love empowering women or people in general. Like, I love empowering people.
That's amazing. And, it's like our moms, like they definitely shape us, with the good and with like the not so good, and these are patterns that we can definitely change.
Right.
And also with my mom, now that I'm a mom, now I'm taking my Stella to this and Emma to that. And I do get flashbacks of that I was in every dance event and every costume thing, so I really appreciate my mom also doing all these things.
Yeah.
But I have to scarf. I don't know why, but I have to scarf it, and it's it's part of the process. But I really am like, we have to be grateful for the mom and the dad and the family we chose. Exactly. Because do you believe that we chose them?
Absolutely.
And they chose us.
Yeah. I do believe in, reincarnation. I'm really, I actually, I got my hypnotherapy certification and learned all about regression and past lives. So I definitely understand what you're saying. I do believe in reincarnation. And I think understanding that is actually what made me break free from all of this pain I was holding on to for such a long time, right? Like, I think that understanding that I chose my parents as my people here on earth to learn and grow without, any judgment, that's when I actually started breaking free from any kind of limiting beliefs I had around what I had to expect around my family or the kind of people they are or how they should be as mom and dad. I feel that really was like a pivotal moment for me when I figured out, that everyone on earth is here for a lesson, right? And nothing is a coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. We're here because, we are going to become the best versions of ourselves. So it doesn't matter what that looks like. It's how you come out of it, right? So yeah, I think it broke me free after believing and knowing that we came here as lessons with our parents. And I love them unconditionally. I do. I definitely love them unconditionally. They provided a beautiful life for me. And yeah, it's just been something that now I could actually say without even crying, because it used to build up so much emotion in me because I didn't process it the way I should have for a long time. And now I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
So great. Yeah. And, part of the evolution, and this also has been a work that I've done and learned also through consciousness, because there was a time where I was like, Like, I want to feel what unconditional love is,
Yeah.
you know? And then the message was like forgiveness.
Forgiveness. Yes.
Forgiveness is really the answer. And if we understand each other, at least this is my perspective, as one, right?
Yes.
But there's mirrors with family, with mom, and all these things. If you understand that we came here to evolve, understanding that the patterns that my mom or my dad, let's talk about the things, the patterns that are not conscious, you know?
Right.
Because there's many great things. I don't want to say no, like my childhood, like, and they were great. But if we see that there's patterns that we need to evolve,
Yes.
then it's on
Culturally
me.
too. It's also culturally too. You know, it's like there's different
collectively, you mean? Like culturally collective?
We're all multidimensional beings,
Yes.
right? We come from different dimensions of
Mhm.
life. Our families, our parents, they came from a different background too. They came from, you know, a third world country. So they have a different kind of mentality when it comes to scarcity, abundance, all of that, right? So it's different ways of moving also in different cultures. And I had to break away from that too and just be me. You know what I mean? Because that doesn't also identify. Like, I don't identify with that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know that in order for me to move forward in life, I need to break away from that kind of conditioning. From family conditioning,
Like beliefs, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to work on the limiting beliefs.
That some of our family
have been
has
in your family.
Yeah, and I will say that I knew that in my family I would be the one to kind of break that because I've always just done my own thing. I'm an Aquarius, so I've always just done everything on the beat of my own heart. You know, I've always just done everything that felt right to me. I always just followed what felt right to me. Since I was 4 years old at that moment, I always followed what was right for me, regardless if it was right or wrong. Whatever felt right. And that's another thing. For me, I realized that regardless of what situation that we have ever been in, right or wrong, or like, at that moment we thought it was like a negative experience. It's just like, no, I don't think there's anything negative, because I feel like anything that we're not supposed to experience was supposed to help us grow as humans, as supposed to help us evolve into this highest version of yourself. Because how can you have emotion if you're always on this like positive feeling? You need contrast, right?
Yeah.
You need contrast. So that's what's building who you are right now. That's what's building who I am right now. So yeah, I think that it's the part of the pendulum. I guess you would say you want to balance it out all the time. You don't always want to be too far left of the pendulum, and you don't want to be far too right of the pendulum. And so that's something that I've been really working on right now too, like just understanding centeredness and knowing that, nothing really matters. Like, nothing, not like that, but like everything matters, but nothing really matters also.
Yes.
Not being attached to anything.
Yes. Yeah, I totally get that. And it's like, it's like in Kabbalah, you don't grow when it's always light. You need that darkness.
Exactly.
To understand the process of transformation and become more powerful.
Exactly.
So you do need to fall.
Yes.
And then I feel like also our job is how fast we're going to get up, because we understand what means the falling.
Yes.
We understand what happens when we get up.
Right.
That we grow.
Yeah.
We become more powerful in the most beautiful way. And
I also think when we get older, it's just all about your bounce back rate. You know what I mean? Like, you just figure out, okay, how fast can I just shift my energy from knowing that's like, okay, that sucked, but you know what? No, like we're not staying here. We're gonna shift. And that's what I love about I guess, being, having experience. Because when we didn't know that back then, we were just, I feel like, for me at least, I was always just like, I internalized a lot of things. I internalized a lot of things, and it wasn't good for me. I know that. And, but now I can confidently say, like, I'm so aware of what I feel, and I love myself so much that I never want to put myself in any situation that's always like, that's going to put me, or that's going to make me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah.
I know that shit's not good for me.
Yeah.
That's it,
Exactly.
Like, you don't need to over explain. Like,
Exactly.
just by you knowing all your bodies and your nervous system, that's more than enough.
Right.
Right? What are your like top boundaries, healthy boundaries? Or what was the toughest one that you had to learn? Because it's a muscle. We have to practice. What is like the number one that you're like this is it?
For me, I'm such an empath. I'm so intuitive, but I also feel a lot of energy. And I guess that's part of doing the work. When you do the work, it's like you kind of sense.
You get more sensitive.
Yeah, but you also sense who you used to be too. And if people are still on that journey, that's totally okay, because everyone's in their own time.
Yeah.
But you also know what's good for you. So you have to, I think that boundaries are so healthy and sexy for women, because it just helps you continue on with your day, your life, without, just being unapologetically yourself, because you have to put yourself first, right? You have to, you're the only person that's driving the wheel to your car. Not even, I have a husband. He's not driving the wheel in my car. I am, So it's like, I have to always figure out ways to make sure that I'm always centered, aligned, and being that always going forward 100%. So boundaries to me definitely have been stronger now more than ever. Friendships, for sure, because when I give my time to a friend, especially when I'm such a busy person, right? Like I told you, my whole focus is my only priority is my family, my business. And then everything else is a plus.
And your self-care.
And my self-care. Yes. Yeah, exactly. That's number one, actually.
Yes, actually.
Self-care is number one. And then it's the family and the business. But that's all intertwined into one. I think that's like all, one. But so if for me with friendship, unless we are aligned, I think that there's no reason. I don't know. I don't need to waste my time in creating. I don't like small talk. You know what I mean? I don't have time for small talk. So for me, friendships, I love creating beautiful, deep connections. I'm like such a deep person that, when you're in my life, I truly care about you and I want the best for you. And, and I think the people that's able to receive that are like in that same frequency as me, or in that same energy field as me.
Have you ever, did it ever happen to you that you met somebody, like a friend, and then you noticed that it was just very draining?
Yeah, so many times.
What did you feel? What did you feel? Do you feel hungover? Do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's I think that's where me and you kind of connected too, because it's like I would have, I had a girlfriend where I would just feel so drained after seeing her, and it was just like, I always asked myself, why do I feel this way? Like, why? And there were even times where I felt like my body physically couldn't move to go see her. And I had to understand what it was. And number one, I actually didn't blame it on anybody. I actually looked within myself, because I'm like, what is it about my nervous system that I need to fix right now for me to figure out what's going on, why I feel this way? I've never felt this way before. Like, why am I feeling this way? And that's when I started to even do more inner work. That's when I started to do more work, because yes, I could be around friends that could, drain my energy, but I had to look within myself to why I feel that way too, because at the end of the day, you are the only person that has the capacity to make choices for yourself, right? Like, no one else makes choices. You can choose to be angry at your friend.
Yeah.
But I feel like energy like that signals also like misalignment, you know?
Totally.
So as I got deeper into, you know, healing and understanding why I felt this way, it was such a huge emotion. Again, it was another big emotion for me.
Very uncomfortable.
Yes. And I was really diving deep into why I felt that way. I started to uncover again, you know, I'm just growing also, and that I need to start taking care of myself first. So that's actually when boundaries started happening. When you realize that, okay, why am I putting myself in this position to feel this way right now when I don't need to? I need to take care of myself, you know? So that's when I decided, you know, I'm just going to focus on me and just continue forward and just continue to, you know, grow on my own, because like, yes, I would get drained from friends, you know, from certain friends, but at the same time, I need to figure out a way to be solid in that also, because, you know, life is not always going to be peaches and butterflies. You know, I just know that my boundaries, like, okay, well, I know that we're not aligned, so I'm just going to do my own thing and we don't have to be so close anymore.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's like, but that's like a natural progression in life, right? I feel like everyone has a different season in life. And I think quality over quantity, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
I value that.
Yeah.
And so if you can even count like good friends in like one hand, you're a lucky person, I think. Like deep, good friends.
Even just one, it's fine.
Exactly. Even just one.
And if you don't have anything, just keep working on yourself.
Exactly.
You know, because it's really about alignment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I always tell my girlfriends, I'm like, you know, I just don't care. Like, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't need validation. Like maybe when I was younger, sure, right? Because I feel like that's what drives you sometimes, your ego, right? But when you get older, you just kind of like, you just realize like, no, it's like, it's about being grounded and just being like, just super grounded in who you are and knowing who you are in any situation.
Yeah.
And so now that, you know, if I was around somebody who was going to drown my energy, I just won't, I don't need to invest that much time and energy.
You know, I really appreciate that you're saying this. And I actually recorded an episode about healthy boundaries. I am somebody that I put a lot of boundaries, but recently, I'm going to be super honest with you. I had this realization with something that happened with a friend where I was just like pointing, and not to her. I wasn't like doing to her. It was me in my head of like why I was feeling so drained.
Right.
And then, you know, I'm like, oh my God, hold on. If I feel drained, it's not because of this person. It's because I'm not honoring my own boundaries.
Exactly.
It's me.
Exactly.
It's not that person.
Exactly.
You know, why do I get to a point where I feel hungover and I'm not listening to my body?
Exactly.
Why did I end up so close, right? Why did I end up so invested? There's people that you need to be super close to, and then there's people that you need to be, you know? So it was something, again, that for me was just like very uncomfortable to process, also because I'm very empathetic and I feel also the uncomfortable part from the other side, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned about that for me is forgiving myself for allowing myself to do that. Because like I said, you're the only person that controls your own feelings, thoughts. Everything's a choice in life. Everything is a choice in life. I remember one of my friends were like, oh, Jordana, you know, it's because you had this certain life, like this is how you grew up, and, you know, like you had all this resources growing up. That's why you're successful. And I'm like, no, actually, that's not true. I just made the choices to want this kind of life, right? Like I made those choices. I'm no different from you. So it's like, you have to decide how you want your life to look like. And, you know, it is sad because not a lot of people have that kind of urge just yet, because like I said, they're in their own journey in life.
Like, you mean like the urge is that they can't see it. They're not taking accountability of the decisions that they're making at this moment.
Exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Because, not everyone's ready to face their fears.
Yeah.
Not everyone's ready to face what's the mirror in front of them.
Yeah.
And if people just look at themselves in the mirror and accept themselves and just really be honest, like 100% honest with yourself, you're gonna do wonders for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can fix all of those things, right? It's a choice. Everything in life is a choice. You could fix anything that needs to be fixing. And I think a lot of people are not ready to process emotions and all of that. And that's why I think that's why the work that you're doing, the work that I'm doing, I think it's so important.
Yeah.
Because people need to see that everyone has a story. Everyone has gone through something. I think everyone has gone through something. And everyone has gone through some kind of trauma in their life, whatever, how big or small, it's all the same.
Yeah.
And, it's nice for people to share their stories so that they could see how, what tools we used to heal and grow. Right.
Yeah. And everybody heals with different tools, different things happen in life. Like it's very different for everybody, and even it's like imagine I was just like, I can't stand my own bullshit. I need to. I need to do something right now. And only me understood it. Like it was just me, like understanding this like fire in me that wanted to heal and wanted to grow and wanted to feel certain things. And one thing moves to another.
Wasn't it such a beautiful feeling?
And it becomes more
empowering.
It becomes more empowering.
I know.
Like so much. And honestly, like it doesn't matter. Like I grew up and we had money. I was in the best school and all these things, but there was a lot of scarcity mindset, and the other day we were at dinner and you were like, scarcity.
Yes.
And I'm like, and then you explained me and I'm like, yeah, thank you for catching that, because we all have blind spots. And I actually appreciate when I catch myself also having limiting beliefs, because it is a limiting belief. And unless you don't see yourself and just be like, oh my God, I need to stop blaming everything in my life, blaming my family, blaming my friends, blaming the job that I have.
Yeah.
And you start taking accountability of every decision that you're making and what you're not making.
Exactly.
I think it's just it's very cool.
Yeah.
Whatever blueprint, whatever spiritual tool, whatever that helps you with that fire. Like I just think it's great.
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for you, because I think that in order for you to take accountability in your life takes a lot of strength. Like it's not easy.
No.
It wasn't easy. It's easier now, right? Like when you're in it, have you ever felt like, oh my gosh, like more, like you're just like, I need more work. Oh my gosh. And it's like, but when you're uncovering and once there's more knowledge and once you're like, this makes sense. Oh my gosh. Like when you're starting to become more aware of your feelings and your thoughts, you're like, you ease into yourself, like you become more like yourself and more grounded in who you are.
Yeah. Because what matters is this moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like,
and if there's something that it's not there yet, it's not there yet, but obviously it sounds very easy. And sometimes I do get in those loopholes, but then you're like, you have the tools, right? So you have to remember that maybe it's not supposed to happen tomorrow like you thought it was going to happen,
Exactly.
all these things. And when you surrender, I think that's where the miracles happen.
I will tell you that me surrendering definitely is where miracles happen.
Yeah. I want to hear about how your business started, because I can't believe that for a long time I was looking to smell good, and I've been using essential oils for a long time.
I love essential
oils. And when I hit 39, I'm 40 now, and I'm going to be 41 next month. When I hit 39, I'm like, I want to smell more sexier, more sensual. And And then, you told me, like, you introduced me and you sent me your perfumes that are protecting the endocrine system. They're not going to disrupt your hormones, and they smell amazing. How did you start that?
Well, thank you so much. When I started the Lifestyle Co., I started it out of a need. At the time, this was 2017. I've always loved, number one, I want to start by saying I always loved fragrances. Like, since I can remember, high school is when I first started it. My mom always gifted me for Christmas and birthday fragrances. I just loved it so much. I just felt that even on my bad days, I always felt put together. I feel like that's what fragrance can do. So I've always loved fragrances. So when I started to get an allergic reaction to my favorite perfumes, I was just like heartbroken because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, why am I getting this like kind of reaction? And then when I started doing research, I started to see that there's like endocrine disruptors in a lot of the fragrances because they're made out of synthetic dyes or just synthetic fragrances. And there's phthalates and sulfates. And I was like, oh my gosh, then, I already had a business before I started the Lifestyle Co. I had a fashion business. And so I feel like that part of my business, when I started that, I feel like that was more ego-based. So when I started getting this allergic reaction, I was just like, okay, well, since I've already had a business, I've already been an entrepreneur, I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I want to make sure that it's something that's so meaningful to me and that I'm making a positive impact, because I already know how it is to be an entrepreneur. You have to be so passionate about it. Yeah. Like when I first started my first business, I was so passionate about fashion, right? But then, after a while, as you grow up, you're like, this was an old version of me that I outgrew. So when I started getting that allergic reaction and there was nothing in the market out there, maybe like one, but not really, like it wasn't even clean, wasn't even a thing. No one.
Why do you think you started getting your allergic reaction? Because of the compounding of the chemicals?
I think that. And also, as we grow, I think as we age, like every 6 years, we develop allergic reactions to a lot of things, right? So I think that I was going into that cycle also. And then the chemicals, like I said, the sulfates, the phthalates that were in there. So I was heartbroken. And I said to myself, well, there's nothing in the market out there, so I'm just going to create it, And so I was like, okay, obviously, I want to create something so meaningful. And if I'm going to create something meaningful, I want people to feel like empowered. I want them to be the most empowered, magnetic version of themselves. So I was like, okay, what do I love? What are all the tools and what are all the things that have made me become this person now? Okay, astrology. Astrology was one of them. I'm like, I would love to create crystal-infused perfume oils based on your astrology sign, which, by the way, I brought for you since you're a Scorpio.
Oh my God, my favorite.
Yes.
Because you gave me like the little one and it's like almost done. I'm like, I don't know how you did it. Yeah. Like you have like the best team and research. I don't know, but this smells like Scorpio. So if you're Scorpio, like you're going to smell this and you're going to be like, this was made for me.
Yeah, because Scorpios are really deep with their feelings.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and you guys are water signs, right? Yeah. So it's like you're super deep. It's just, yeah. And so I wanted to have a fragrance that insinuated that.
It smells so sexy.
Yes, Scorpios are mysterious, sexy, all of that, bold. So it's like our fragrances are there to enhance and empower that magnetic side of you. And so when we first started, we actually started with crystal-infused perfume oils. So I literally, in my apartment, was conjuring up all these things, all these scents, essential oils, all of these things, because I knew that was the most natural form for me to start with. And then we started with our Life Path collection too. So it's the collection based on your numerology. So all the things that I love, basically, all the woo-woo things that, everyone talks about, but to me, they've been modern tools to help me. And I knew that if if people didn't believe in this stuff, they can still walk away inspired by it because somebody's actually taking the time and the intention to create a product like this.
So beautiful. It's your story, you know? It's like your story, like the tools that helped you be the person that you are right now.
Right.
And to create this amazing, beautiful, conscious business. It has to be inspired and activating to whoever literally sprays this.
Yeah.
It's not just the smell.
Yes.
It's the activation through your growth and to what you're doing on planet Earth, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, you know, and I really appreciate you saying that because I feel like those who get it, get it. And it's one of those things where it's made for that person who wants the best for themselves. It's made for that person who loves beautiful things, loves to smell beautiful, but also is very intentional with what she puts on her body because she cares about herself. And she, you know, she's empowered by that. I think it's a lifestyle. I mean, I created a lifestyle code because it's a lifestyle company. It's part of your lifestyle. And so we created our crystal infused perfume oils. And the reason why I started with crystals first, because crystals have always had beautiful benefits to them if you tune into it, right? So even like I said, even if you don't believe in that stuff, you could still walk away inspired because even the way I name our products are super intentional.
So you have big plans, you have a big vision. And as a founder myself, and you've been more with the physical product more than I, but I can kind of feel it and get the glimpse of what it is and what we have to do to grow a business, a conscious business. How do you balance being in that energy flow, but also making things happen to grow a business? Because, I mean, I want to hear you because sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, am I being too masculine or do I need to put my masculine energy to make things happen?
Oh, absolutely.
You know?
I will tell you, okay, so my first business, definitely in my masculine, very like, I'm just going to do this now, you know, just always on a masculine and not having a direction. And that's what I didn't like. And I learned from that. I feel like my first business really taught me how to, it was like a boot camp. It was a business boot camp for me to grow as a person too. So I learned a lot from that. So when I decided to do the Lifestyle Co., I really wanted I wanted my messaging to be clear, but at the same time, I also know that this is a business, right? Like, I know for me, my masculine side comes with my pitching my deals, you know, having those meetings with my retailers or having, you know, just having, like, I have to get my masculine energy out when I have to execute deals. Like, that's when that energy flows. Right? My feminine energy is when I'm creating, when I'm in flow, when I'm envisioning things, when I'm like in my thoughts. And now I've learned how to balance that thanks to my husband also, because, you know, he understood that I was, you know, before he came into the business, I was doing everything. So I was basically trying to balance out both masculine and feminine. And I will tell you, before he came in, I was more my masculine. Why? Because it was like, I always needed to figure out, okay, you know, strategies. Like, it was only me. I had to figure out strategies. I need to pitch this product. I need to go pitch to this retailer. I need to go to the factory and talk to these men. I need to go and do this. It's like, I needed to be in that. Like, there's a place for everything.
Yes.
I feel like there's a place for everything, right? Like masculine energy, I knew that I had to do it in order for me to have this, you know, our first $2 million deal. Like, I needed to have a strong masculine presence for that, or not masculine presence. I just needed to harness my masculine energy for that because, you know, I remember when I was first starting also, it's like, when I started my company, my first company at such a young age. And I remember always, like, I always wanted to let everyone know that just because I'm young doesn't mean you don't have to take me seriously. You know?
Yeah.
So I always, like, that was my masculine side. And I think I got a lot of that energy from that because I feel like I was able to execute a lot of things that I didn't even think that I would. I never thought I would even been able to execute a lot of the things if I wasn't like that, this masculine energy, right? So I remember that. Yeah. So I always go back to that too. I'm like, okay. And I think I took that forward when I started the Lifestyle Co. And I'm happy that I did do that because it was able to give me, a platform and also give me the business that I really needed to grow, like to really push this business forward.
Like the base.
Yes, you need the structure, which is the masculine side of the business, in order for you to actually have a real business, right? All the other stuff, the creative process, ideation, the vision, the feeling, that is obviously the feminine side. You can balance that by having a place for everything. Like, again, when you go to your factory, it's like, you have to be in that masculine energy, right? Because you got to make sure that everything, quality control, packaging, everything, you need to make sure that your brand is being reflected back to you the way you see it.
Exactly.
So I think that I've been able to manage it more now. Also because my husband now is the operations and the CFO. So it's funny because he always told me, he's like, you just need to be the feminine. You just need to create. You just need to
channel.
Yeah.
You're the channeler.
Yeah. You just need to do what you're good at, which is ideation and product development. You just need to focus on that. And you don't need to worry about the contracts. You don't need to worry about that. I still do some pitching. I still do that because I actually really enjoy pitching. I enjoy working hard at something and expressing it. And, whatever comes from that, great. But it's like, I love expressing what I'm doing because it brings me so much joy. Like it really makes me so happy creating,
It's you feel passionate talking about your product, who's gonna do it better than you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's the thing. So it's like you said, who's gonna do it better than you, right? So yeah,
listen, when something needs to be delegated, like you need to trust.
Turn that hat on.
You need to trust that they're gonna do it better than you.
Exactly.
There's no way that you're gonna say like, oh, I'm better than her. No, like you need to trust and know that person is literally like, has also your consciousness. So,
exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah. It's like, that's another thing, surrendering, right? Like I also surrendered that part and let it just flow when it needs to come because, and that's what I would really appreciate about my relationship with my husband. And I think we have such a great, healthy synergy with masculine and feminine because I was such in a masculine energy for such a long time before I met him that when I met him, I actually loved being in my feminine. I loved being the woman in the relationship. I love being protected because for such a long time, I always felt like I was always like the man in a relationship or, I always felt like I was the one leading and I love leading, but I also love being, I also love learning, I love learning too.
You're like dismantling a lot of things. And I feel like it's really important for us. There's so much noise on social media, by the way. I really try to not listen much nowadays because I really want to go inward and just do my thing, in the most aligned way that I can or that it's available for me at the moment. But you saying that when you met your husband, you were in your masculine and you got more feminine with him, where what you only listen on social media is you're only getting feminine men because you're in your masculine.
Yeah.
And you are just kind of like saying no.
Yeah.
BS.
Yeah. Because I will say that it's funny. I think I told you the story because I manifested him. I finally released expectation. Before I met him, I literally wrote a letter to the universe and just writing about the essence of my person, not about what he looks like, none of that. It was literally everything.
Not even the age?
Not even the age. No, not even the age. Okay. And he's
not even how tall he has to be.
No, not even how tall he has to be.
You're tiny. Everybody's going to be taller.
Yeah. So it's like not even how tall he has to be. I just remember when I wrote this letter to the universe, I just broke up with an ex, and I was just like, I'm done. Like that was the moment I actually decided I'm done. I'm done not valuing myself. Why am I continuously putting myself why am I continuously putting myself into situations like this? Like why? And I feel like because I made that decision, that very moment, I'm like, I'm done. Like, I don't care what it looks like. I'm done. Like, I will say that moment for me was so powerful, because that's when I was writing from that place of just like clarity. Mm-hmm. And I was writing that letter to the universe, and I was just like writing to my husband, basically. I was writing to my husband and how I felt around him, how I felt protected, all of the essence. And then 3 days later, I meet him.
Where did you meet him?
At Delilah in Hollywood, because I'm from LA. So it's like, he was on a layover. He's Australian, and he was going to a layover. He had a layover in LA. He was going to New York to visit his best friend. And LA was a layover, and I was doing, what did I do that day? Oh, I had a women's conference, and then my girlfriend was like, hey, like come to dinner, Delilah. And I was like, yeah, of course, this was 3-4 days later after I wrote this letter, by the way. And then I went to dinner, and then he comes up to me and he was just like, excuse me, can I talk to you? In front of all my friends. It was just us. And I was like, yeah. I look up at him and I'm like, yeah. And mind you, he's like 6'5". So I was like, okay. I was like, this is a little wink from the universe.
Well, when he's 6'5", yeah, you're what, like 5?
I'm 5'2". I'm 5 foot nothing. I'm 5'2", and I just remember looking up at him. I'm like, yeah. And so he just made me feel so safe. He really just like, I looked at his, like, it was like, I hate being like lovey-dovey about this, but like I felt instantly safe with him. It was the weirdest feeling in the world. Like he looked at me and he was just like, I just felt so safe, and the rest was history. But I was in my masculine, like I was already in transition, right? Like it's not like you attract because you're attracting feminine because there's so much in your masculine. I agree to that to some degree, but it's also your intention. At that moment for me, I decided I was done. I was done tolerating anything that wasn't good for me, right? Like I was done. I was always going to put myself first. Mm-hmm. And when you decide, I think it's when you decide is when actual momentum happens. I think that's the missing link to, manifestation or whatever it is, that you're trying to achieve. Like you really have to decide and stick with it. And so I think that because my heart and my soul knew that this is what I like truly wanted, I was really done with that. Yeah. I think that's when everything started happening for me, like so meeting beautiful. My husband.
I love it. I love stories. I'm such a passionate, like I'm actually meant to be with a partner. Aww. I'm super loyal, but yeah. I also I've been single for so long, years. Yeah. And I can't wait to experience that. But at the same time, I'm also very comfortable where I am right now and understanding that it's perfect. Yeah. This is your journey. This is my journey right now.
And, I'm so happy that I was able to find a partner from this place of growth, right? Like I had I feel like when I met him, that's when I started to even become more like uncovering more of myself, becoming more the best version of myself. Like I will say that you're with the right person when you're the best version of yourself with him, when he brings out the best out of you and he challenges you. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter. You have to be really honest with yourself. I think some women, if they're not comfortable in their own skin, they can allow certain comments from men to affect them. But if you know who you are, and also you also are open to receiving like positive feedback, if you know the feedback's coming from a grounded, loving place, you can take that and, just be like, I appreciate that. Thank you. And you can learn from it.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a lot of pride. I think there's a lot of people that are letting their pride get in the way of their happiness. And I just want people to understand that, once you let that go, so much more beautiful things can happen, because there's nothing more beautiful than learning about yourself and also learning about another person and also understanding yourself.
It's being in alignment, really. Right. Being in alignment is what we need to aim for, I think. Also, we as women, we change a lot.
I know.
And we're doing the inner work, It's also like a man that can hold space for all those changes. It's very powerful.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's I remember I feel like my husband has seen different versions of myself. He's seen me from when he first met me and who I am now. And we've been together for 8 years. And, he'll tell you that he's loving this version definitely a lot like more, because I just feel like once, you continue to grow, right? Like you never go back. You just grow. And, it's a beautiful journey. It's a beautiful journey to be able to be consciously aware of your life.
So beautiful. And I have 2 questions for you. One is, what has been the most challenging in building a conscious business? And what tip would you give to our listeners that they're right now building a physical brand? What is like one tip you would give to them?
That's a really great question. So the first part to that question, so for me, in the beginning, I used to feel really scared because I didn't want to scare people of the intention behind the brand, because I didn't think people would understand. But then once I started getting comfortable with that and just being like, no, this is what makes the Lifestyle Co. very different. This brand is intentional. This brand is intended to empower women and men, to be the best versions of themselves. So why be scared of that? And also, I wanted to introduce some of the modern practices in a very approachable way. So I know it was really hard for me in the beginning. It was really hard, but I also knew that the only way I could do that is make it beautiful, Mm-hmm. So I'm so lucky because, I am a graphic designer as well. I'm a designer. I do product development. I went to school for that. So it was really good that I had that extra skill.
Yeah, like I told you the other day, is because sometimes we have the vision, but we can't put it into a physical, we need somebody to help, but you had the vision and you knew how to also transfer it digitally or on paper or whatever.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So to me, that was like the first step, right? I guess that's also what made me feel so confident in doing what I need to do, because I already knew I had that. I didn't need to wait, let's say 2 weeks, 3 weeks for a design to come back. And I designed everything myself. Yeah. And I wanted it I didn't leave everything astray, everything to the symbol, everything. So our symbol actually means balanced, but open to receiving and open to receiving. And, that's the energy that I want you to feel when you are part of the Lifestyle Co. world, right? It's your lifestyle.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what is one tip that you would give? There's so much noise. There's so much comparison on social media. There's things that look so easy, but at the end of the day, it's really not. There's an inner work that it's also parallel to what's happening on the physical realm, So what's a tip that you would give to somebody that is starting a business right now?
Well, I will say that, I feel like as I grew my company grew with me. So everything in your company will evolve. What you start with is not what you're going to finish with. That's number one. So don't think too much on the physical thing. Think about your why. That is my number one thing, your why. Why are you doing this? Because sometimes people could be entrepreneurs, but they don't really have the capacity to hold that, what an entrepreneurship comes with, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. But another thing is, if you have a really good idea and you're really passionate about it, just do it. And don't focus on, other people. Like, clear out that noise. Like, don't listen to anybody. Listen to yourself. This like, a brand is an extension of you. You know
That's
what I mean?
Conscious business is, when you are just focusing on your alignment, right, and what you're channeling to do with that business.
Exactly. And like, nothing exists like that, like in beauty or in the fragrance industry, right? Like, nothing existed like that back in the day, back in 2017, 2018. Nothing like that existed. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anything like that exists now either, until I came along, where it's like, and you, right? With what you're doing with Balance and like the energy and the thoughtfulness and everything that you did with Balance and why you're doing it, that's alignment. And people feel that. And I know for us and our customers, they feel that. So if you're doing something authentic, the people that are meant to be your customers, they're going to be there for you. So don't worry about anything else. Like, don't worry about the money. Don't worry about any of that. Don't even worry.
Yeah.
Don't even worry.
Don't
even worry.
Yeah.
Just if you just listen to your why, if it makes you happy, then do it. Nothing else.
So beautiful. Yeah. My love. Thank you so much I want to stay and talk more to you. We need to do a part 2. This has been incredible.
This was so much fun.
I love this so much. Where can my community find your perfume? Like, is there a code you want to give? Something?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you can find me at Jordana _ Fortaleza. So it's Jordana.
Fortaleza, like, it's like Fortaleza is like strength.
I know.
Yeah.
My Spanish teacher, when I was in high school, was like, what your Mr. Lerma, I'll never forget. He was like, he comes up to me and he was like, what your last name means? And I'm like, why? He's like, strength, fortitude in Spanish. And I was like, wow, really? And I was like, I'll never forget that. And I think I also carried that energy with me because he was always like, telling me that. But yeah, thank you.
So Jordana _ Fortaleza, yeah. Instagram.
Yeah, that's my personal Instagram. And then the lifestyle co is THELYFESTLYECO. So it's life with a Y. Just remember that, because people always get confused.
I know. I was tagging the other brand. Like, I know.
Yeah, it's the lifestyle with a Y.
Yeah, amazing.
Y,
right? Amazing.
Your Y.
And it's so beautiful. Do you want to show one really fast before we leave? Look.
So this is actually our
yeah.
This is actually our signature scent Mood. This is like the alchemy of sophistication and elegance. I feel like every person that wears this, they are their most magnetic self. It just makes them so confident. Yummy. They go into a room before an interview and they just feel super confident.
So good. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Do you want to give a code or something?
Yes.
Should we do Giselle or Giselle or Giselle 10 or something like that?
Why don't we do 15% off?
Okay, Giselle 15.
Yeah.
Let's do Giselle 15.
Yes.
All right, my love. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Thank you so much for having me.